Welcome back to the channel, Cozy Financial Planning. My name is Aaron, and we're here with another episode of the Basic Concepts of Financial Planning 101. One of the biggest purchases we all make in life is our home, and we want to understand and do better on how to save for a home, or a lot of Canadians don't really know how the best way to do it is. So the CRA has a couple different options. We've talked about a couple of them in other ways, FHSA and RSP, but there's a new account called the First Time Home Saving Account, First Time Home Buyer Savings Account, FHSA, and it's relatively new, so I did a deep dive into the research on that, and we're going to go over some pointers about that and keep it a broad spectrum, but let's get right into it. This account was recently invented by the CRA to help Canadians save for a home. I believe it came about because Canadians weren't really utilizing the RSP home buyers plan, and maybe they're using the TFSAs. They just want something a little different, and so the CRA did at least listen to Canadians and invented something that's quite a combination of a couple different things. They kind of took the best stuff of an RSP with the home buyers plan and took it out of that and made it into its own account. So the basics of this is you have to be a first-time home buyer to utilize it. That qualifies as you can't own a house in the last 5 years, essentially, of when you open it or want to use it. That means, so you can own a house, at 20, then at 30 be a first-time home buyer again and utilize this account. So you open it, you have $8,000 worth of contribution room, and you will gain $8,000 a year going forward if you max it out. Now, you can carry forward your amount. So if you only opened your account and $8,000 and only put $4,000 in, the following year you would be able to have $12,000 worth of room. There is a maximum contribution amount, which is $40,000, and then you can only keep the account open for 15 years. It is not meant to be a sneaky way to have another, essentially almost like another RSP / tax or a tax-free savings account for retirement. It's strictly for buying a home. You can hold all different types of investments, just like an RSP and TFSA, GSEs, bonds, stocks, mutual funds, all the basic stuff. Kind of go over that. Now, what I think is really interesting about this and why I do like it and why it makes sense to possibly use it is that you also get, so if you put $8,000 into this, if you open the account, put $8,000 into it, you can also get the tax payable deduction that the RSP gives you. So as people are familiar, you put money into an RSP and you reduce the tax payable that you have for the year, right? So you essentially reduce your income. So if you put $8,000 in your income, you make $50,000 and put $8,000 in your RSP, you're only going to pay tax on $42,000 for the year. Similar to this program or this account, you can $50,000 income, you put $8,000 in, you're only going to pay on $42,000. Now, what's also interesting is you can do a direct transfer of money from your RSP to this account. So essentially, I believe ultimately this year is going to eventually get rid of the home buyers plan, unless there's communication that they've talked about already. So with that said is what you do is you can transfer there. Now, do understand that you do not get to deduct your income again. So if you put money into an RSP, use it to reduce your tax payable. You can't transfer it to your new first FHSA and also get the reduction. It doesn't work that way. This year it'll be, big slap on the wrist, you'll be in a lot of trouble. However, but you can already take that money and put it over there so you can kind of separate your retirement money versus this, which is great. Now, what's interesting is that the cons of this program is withdrawals are a little convoluted. You have to be a first-time home buyer, you have to qualify underneath that, and they have a few different ways. And I said at the beginning, I want to keep this broad spectrum, so we're going to do a little bit. So it's just a tiny bit of red tape, as well as you have certain dates you have to be mindful of when you're taking money out regarding when you purchase the home, or you've written down when you want to build a new home, right? So something like that. So it's kind of convoluted. I'm not big on red tape for things. I didn't find on the CRA website what you can necessarily pay for if it's just strictly for your house. You take the money out, you bought the house, you take it. Do you have to put it down for a down payment? My understanding, and this is my personal opinion, is I believe you take it out, you can use it for that, and then as long as you qualify as a first-time home buyer, you can use it then to, like, if you had to do renovations or something to the new home, you would have to spend the money on the new home in some manner. But that's a little gray area and probably shouldn't get into that too much. I just have some notes on the side just to check over, make sure I knock everything out. The interesting part is because it's a registered account for CRA as well, you can have a beneficiary, successor holder, if something happens to you. The length of time you can have the account is 15 years. After 15 years of opening the account, you now have to unwind it and do something with the money, which means you have to put it back in your RSP if you have the space, or withdraw it, but then you're a full tax. You're going to be taxed fully on it, right? So if you saved a bunch of money and you grew your investments tax-free, you'll be paying tax on a bunch of stuff. So be mindful of what you're utilizing this for. Now, as I said, the only con I really have is the withdrawals are a little convoluted. I think it's really neat. You get a bunch of room, $8,000 a year, up to $40,000 maximum. You have 15 years to utilize the account, so you have lots of time to save for a house. If you're 20 and you think you might start buying, like, it's an easy thing to do. You can hold all the simple investments. It's registered, so you get a beneficiary on it, except it never happened, knock on wood. And then the cons are just that it's a little convoluted to get out, right? Now, as a previous advisor, would I utilize this with my clients? The answer is yes. Under certain circumstances, I would absolutely do this. I've always believed the best decision someone can make for themselves is an informed one, which means I would give this information to my clients. If they said, hey, I want to buy a house in 5 years, how do you recommend we do it? I would say, well, these are your options. I would definitely pick this over your RSP in the home buyers plan, just because then you're not meddling with your RSP and your retirement money. This is kind of just taking that program and separating it out. There's a TFSA. There's just a simple non-registered savings account, which means just put in a bank account. There's also just a non-registered investment account, which means there's not tied to the CRA, just an investment account. So there's no tax preferentials essentially around it. At the end of the day, though, I'm a big believer that RSPs, like, you need goals set for your money, right? I'm a big believer in using retirement money for retirement, because you're kind of just born for retirement to possibly buy home, and there's like years of growth that you will miss out on for retirement to buy a house. And sometimes you need that, and I get it under those circumstances. You need to buy a home, or you need to have a home for you and your family, and that is key. Like, retirement doesn't matter if you don't have a place to live in any circumstance, right? Or saving for retirement doesn't matter if you need a place to live. So we do have to be mindful of that. Like, as an advisor, I'm very cognizant of that. So my final thoughts are: it's a good program. Utilize it if you need to. If it's a way that you need to generate something to help you best pay down your taxes and get a little possible refund and put that towards your house, that's great. I prefer a little more freedom for clients if possible. So tax-free savings account, if it's not being utilized, is a great way to save, or non-registered investment. This is good in its own way. It's just got to be for the right people, the right time. And this is, again, why I made the channel, which is there's so many different options: RSP, FHSA, which is this account, TFSA, non-registered account, and basic savings account. You have to be mindful of all those, right? And you have to pick the best decision for you and yours and what suits you best. Just one thing about saving for a house I would touch on before I end the video, which is when you're saving for a house and your goal is 5 years, it's great that you can own stocks and bonds and mutual funds, but I would never recommend a client pick risky ones that could potentially go down by 10%. Sure, you can make 10%, but if you go down by 10%, 3 months before you want to buy a house, you're going to be really upset that you lost 10% of your down payment. So it's a little better to be safer in that regard. Now, we're a little off tangent, which normally happens with me in conversations, in particular regarding just anything. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and hopefully you enjoyed and you learned something new today. And like and subscribe. Thanks. Have a good one.